Stories from every wrestling hell. We dive deep into the stories behind the rail. Respecting the craft, making the fans sing. Respect the craft, making the fans sing. Respect the craft, respect the fight. We bring the best, we can't hide. Respect the craft, making the fans sing. Respect the craft, respect the fight. We bring the best, we can't hide. We dive deep into the stories behind the ring. Respect the craft, making the fans sing. Respect the craft, respect the fight. We bring the best.
And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 271, and I'm joined here by fellow amazing broadcaster here, commentator extraordinaire. We got Jordan Castle in the building. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, I'm so excited to be here, especially after that gnarly rock intro. I was not expecting a full-fledged, custom-made song. That was a very pleasant surprise. I don't think we were live, but I was in the little preview window just kind of jamming out. That was, I don't know who you got to do that, but that was a banger. Props to them.
Thank you so much. And no, I love when I see the little preview, and that's always my reaction. It's like, do they like the theme? Do they not? And when I see someone rocking out, I'm like, perfect. But no, as always, shout out to Stefan Cricks, who made that amazing theme, who also happens to be Jessica Havoc's brother. Is the one that made the theme. Shout out to him. Amazing work always.
What a small world.
No, that's the best thing about this business, man. It's always those little things like that. But no, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on, man, to be able to talk all things that we're going to be discussing. But before we get into that, a lot of things we do have to discuss. I have to ask you the question I ask everyone that comes on. You heard the name of the podcast. It's called Respect the Craft. So for you, when you hear that term, the craft, what does that mean to you?
Oh, man, that's a big one. That's a loaded one. I think any craft, specifically professional wrestling, but also I'm a weird middle ground where I'm involved in wrestling, but I'm not a wrestler, obviously, but still on screen. So it's a kind of weird double negative, I guess. But to me, in wrestling at least, the craft means something that you pour your heart and soul into. It's a passion, right? It's not just something you do to, make money or to hit it big or to feel cool. It's something that you really genuinely, truly love, and something that drives you to be the best version of yourself and drives you to get out of bed in the morning. At least to me, that's what I think of when I hear that word.
No, got you. That works, and that's perfect right there. So that does lead me to this because, like we said, again, like I said in the intro as well, fellow amazing commentator, broadcaster here. What was that for you that made you decide to get into this craft right here? Was the initial attempt to want to be a part of through the ropes into that squared circle, or was broadcasting and commentary always that first initial thought?
Yeah, it always was broadcasting and commentary and ring announcing. I started watching wrestling in 2009, so coming up on 15 years. It'll be 15 years in September or October, I believe, which is pretty crazy to think about. And I was never a very athletic kid. Was never a very big kid. I mean, chubby kid, but not, strong or tall or anything like that. And so I never really fashioned myself an athlete. I never thought that was something that I could do or wanted to do. And also I'm kind of a wuss, and the idea of, getting hit in the head and falling down did not appeal to me. But seeing people like Michael Cole or Tony Chimmel, these people who were an active, important part of telling these stories, or narrators, I mean, is the best way I can think to describe it. it instantly caught my attention. I've said before, but for the longest time, I just wanted to be a ring announcer. That was the dream. And nothing against commentary, but I think there's something about like being in front of people and that energy of, who's ready for a great night? And 1,000 people screaming in your face. There's no way to replicate that. And so that's what, drew me from a very young age. But the first opportunity I got to do any broadcast stuff in wrestling was actually through a place that we've worked at together, which is VXS, Violence and Suffering. And the opportunity there just so happened to be for the commentary booth. And it was love at first sight as far as that opportunity and getting the chance to do that. And since then, I've been very lucky to work in both commentary and ring announcing, but primarily commentary. I'd say the bigger stages, the more consistent stages have been for commentary. And I couldn't be happier. It is something I have loved very, very much. And I actually think, as much as I still love ring announcing, as much as I still think I'm a solid ring announcer, I think I am a much stronger commentator for a myriad of reasons. So I think everything happens for a reason, and I could not be happier to be where I'm at.
No, definitely so. And again, that is awesome to hear that was that first opportunity was at VXS. Because Isaac and the team at VXS has always been about that, creating those opportunities. And again, giving those that again are willing to put in that work and have that respect for their craft, pun intended, that shot. And it's amazing. And hearing you at the last show, I definitely hope in the future we can finally call a match together as well. But just hearing the way you break down things and just the way you're very analytical with certain things, I was just like, see, this is what I like about commentary. Because that was the funny thing with me was my goal was always the in-ring. As I got through with the business and got learning different parts of it and learning the craft and everything, I was like, I fell in love with commentary and just the idea of seeing those that have that true passion about it and the way they break things down. I'm like, this is what caught my eye. This is what got me. And I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, I so appreciate you saying that, man. I too hope that we can properly share a booth and call a match together sometime in the very near future. But that's what I love about commentary, man. No shade to anyone. I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, because I think people like Excalibur, Mike Tenay are incredible with their vast knowledge of moves. Certainly much more expansive than forgetful, ADHD-riddled guy like me could ever hope to manage. But the piece of commentary that's always I should say that I've always been drawn to is, like you said, the analytical side of it. Not necessarily what is this move, but why does this move hurt? Why is this person implementing this move at this point in the matchup? And did they do it at a previous match against this person's tag team partner 3 months ago? Yada, 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 whatever it is. To me, that aspect of it is where it really becomes storytelling. And ultimately, I think that's like wrestling. There's different flavors of ice cream. Some people like watching Bloodsport. Some people like watching Chikara. Some people like watching WWE. Some people like watching AEW. Some people like watching New Japan. Like, there's a myriad of different promotions, a myriad of different styles. And I think that's the same with commentary and commentators and sort of the aspects of it that you're drawn to. Not to say that it's not important to have a well-rounded, complete game and be versatile, but I think we all have different strokes for different folks, as it were.
No, definitely so. It's one of those where, like in the ring, you have to have your strengths. You have to have what it is that is your style in a sense. And for me, I'm one that I can do either if necessary. If I have to be the play-by-play, if I have to be that person that narrates the story, and which I do love. I am someone that I always say we're narrating it instead of just we're calling it. It's like, no, it's a narration. It's truly adding to this art. It's adding to the craft here of professional wrestling, and being able to give those moments of why this is important, of noticing, oh, they've been working the neck a lot, and adding that inflection of what this means, what this could possibly be, what they're looking for. It's something that, again, it adds to that atmosphere and it adds to the person watching. Like, it gives that moment of like, you know what? I didn't think about that. And now it's a full picture of what's going on.
Because that's what it is. Everyone sees, I shouldn't say everyone, but most people who've been watching wrestling for even a little while see a suplex and they go, oh, that's a suplex. And it's great to know the special name for that suplex. But to me, I think it's that much better to say, why is he hitting the suplex? Or how does the suplex hurt? Or what part of the body? Or is this following up on a previous attack? That is both, I think, for a viewer, so much more engaging, and for me personally, so much more exciting to expound upon. I think that's a word. I should probably
not,
I'm a commentator, but yeah, it's close enough.
hey, it's one of those in commentary at times we just have to make up certain words and hopefully
That's it, right? And it sounds right. I've definitely said stuff stuff that's a little off the mark over the expound is a word. Expound is a word. So I was right about that one. That's not always the case, but
No, yeah, sometimes it's just like I think this works. If not, hey, we're gonna kayfabe it in. That's all. It's a word now in our wrestling vernacular.
Well, it's always the thing where like you realize in the moment you said something stupid, or you listen to it back and you're like, I fubbed that up, or I mispronounced that, or whatever that was, and like you beat yourself up for it for weeks and weeks and weeks. But like chances are, no one even noticed, and if they did, they didn't care.
At that point, it's just like they're watching the match. They're just like, okay, yeah, and then again, it just keeps going.
That's right.
So. But from that again, growing with this now, having those opportunities, like you said, this right here, there is a certain logo right behind your head right now that I have to talk about for you. How was that opportunity? Because that is one where, like you said, it originally started wanting to ring announce, and then getting the opportunity to call for one of the biggest companies out there. How is that for you?
Yeah, for our audio listeners, I have the lion mark of New Japan Pro Wrestling here right behind me. Have been fortunate enough to call their two most recent Academy showcases at the LA Dojo here in LA. And on Inside Scoop, I will be calling the upcoming New Japan Academy showcase coming at you August 3rd, again from the LA Dojo. So really, really excited to keep that going and have that consistency there. Man, it's a great question, but it's a tough question because I've been asked this a couple times now in a couple different podcasts since I started working with New Japan Pro Wrestling of what it means. And it sounds like a cop-out. I promise it's not. I don't really have an answer because, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I fully wrapped my head around the magnitude of it. Like, I know it's exciting, and I know I'm psyched, and I'm thrilled, and I'm honored, and I'm all of these adjectives. But adjectives, verbs, not a smart guy, man. I'm telling you, good commentator, not smart. But all of these words, and it's like that is true, but there's so much more to it, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to fully wrap my head around that or understand the magnitude of what that means for me until many, many months or many, many years down the line. Because I mean, what can you say that hasn't already been said? It's New Japan Pro Wrestling, the amount of history and the amount of, pun intended for the show we're going to be talking about a little bit later on, but the amount of prestige that comes along with that name and that lion mark is a second to none. It is a standard bearer of excellence in the world of professional wrestling. Before I even knew anything outside of, the WWE bubble that I think a lot of people our age, our generation kind of start watching wrestling in, I knew about New Japan. I heard about the history people like a Big Van Vader or a Stan Hansen had in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And so to say that I'm a small part of that, to say that I'm a little speck of sand on the beach that is the pantheon of New Japan Pro Wrestling, is an honor, and one that I could not be happier or more grateful to have continuing. And that's the other thing, is I'm lucky enough that it wasn't just a one and done, that they asked me back and they've asked me back again. And, God willing, knock on wood, it's something that will continue to happen, and that will be a partnership that continues to flourish for the foreseeable future. And so I'm having the time of my life, man. I wish there was more I could say, but it's been incredible.
It's one of those where it's funny enough, that is, I feel like, the perfect way to answer it, though, because just in the way you're saying it, it's not a hyperbole. It's not a feeling of just like, well, we're going to give a cop-out answer. No, it's one of those where it's like, it's explaining perfectly the feeling of it all. That it's just, it's so hard to explain at the moment, especially, like you said, you're in it right now. It's just trying to understand the magnitude of it all. It's trying to, again, be in the moment of it all as well. So it's just, again, congratulations for that. And again, continuing the amazing opportunities to come, like we're going to talk about in a little bit, with this stacked card for Prestige and a little bit for Combat Clash. But before we do get to that, another one I do want to ask was, when we talked about that, getting into that analytical side and just the studying that you do, again, that's one of those things that to expose just a little bit of business, I guess, if you will. For you, was that a side that was so quick to decide? Because it does come with a lot of work. It comes with a lot of practice. It comes with a lot of having to study, having to, again, get all this information that I always say when I talk to friends, and I'm like, I have a lot up here that probably not many others would want to just put into their head right now, but it works when calling a card.
Yeah.
Like,
No, go ahead, man. I'm
no, no,
sorry.
no. I was gonna say it's one of those where I feel like I think you could relate very well. That it's just like we have so much stuff up here that it's like, yeah, this won't work in any other facet of life, but just when it comes to this, it's perfect.
Absolutely. It's funny. I don't even know if it was a conscious choice of like, this is going to be my style. This is going to be the way I approach things. To be honest with you, I don't know if I ever saw an alternative. I don't know if it was this thing of like, well, I can do, more of a lax, more traditional thing. That would be probably a little easier, a little less time consuming. To me, this was always the only option. Like I want to try and emulate the greats, the Michael Coles and Jim Rosses and Tony Schiavone's of the world, and not copy them. Obviously, find my own style, find my own voice, like we talked about, but aspire to that same level of greatness. And I think the constant with all of those men, very different styles across the board, but is that preparation and is that wealth of knowledge and is that willingness to dive and dig a little deeper. So to me, there was never really an option. That was just, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to commit to it fully. And it's served me well thus far. So I'm definitely glad I made that choice.
No, definitely so. Like I said, just hearing you, getting to hear in person at VXS, it was one of those where it's like, it stuck out very much. And I'm like, okay, so this is something that more people definitely put out. Like I said, again, you hear it on the main stage. A lot of the people that I've studied, the Carinos, just again, minds that really get into this and break it down to another level of it. Then I'm like hearing someone else, especially in person, it's like, okay, this is something others want to do and want to keep going when it comes to narrating, like I say.
Thank you, man. No, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you saying that. It's something that I take a great deal of pride in, because I also think commentary is one of the few roles in wrestling where there is little to no, rarely any physicality. Even a referee, will get banged and bumped from time to time. I feel like a ring announcer is in the ring. They're, in the line of fire, even a lot more than we are. And so if you're going to be a part of this business and you're going to be a part of this match with these people who train their asses off to look this good and move this good, and who plan these things meticulously, and who put so much thought and love and effort into this presentation, I think the least you can do is bring your all to it. There's nothing worse than someone who comes in and isn't prepared and doesn't know what they're talking about and is joking around the whole time, and kind of making a big joke out of the whole thing. And that's never who I want to be. Whether, certainly not intentionally, but even by accident through a lack of preparation or a lack of care. And so I always really try to take time to have those conversations and take those notes and do that. So I really appreciate that, man.
No, yeah, it's definitely one of those, like I say, it's always supposed to be something that it enhances the presentation. It shouldn't take away, as a lot of people, again, not knocking on anyone, but just there's certain times that you feel like, I feel like the commentary is overshadowing this, and it shouldn't. It should be one of those where it's like, you should want it to be a part. And again, not just because you're here, but it's one of those, when I hear your commentary, it's like, it adds to it instead of just, okay, yeah, you hear Jordan. No, it's like, no, this feels like a full presentation here.
Yeah.
So
thank you, man. No, like I said, I really appreciate that.
Oh, definitely so. But now I think it's time to get into it here. It's time to promote all things Prestige here, as it's a stacked event this Friday live. So this was the insanity for me. Not only just the stacked card, but the fact that it's going to be presented live on YouTube this Friday night, July the 12th. The decision here for Prestige, again, putting on this stacked card here and deciding, you know what, we're going to give it away for free on YouTube to the amazing people that unfortunately might not be able to make it live and in person. But if you're definitely in the area or deciding, you know what, let's take a trip and fly out, get your tickets now. Link in the description down below. But doing it on YouTube is going to be wild.
Yeah, no, I was pretty shocked and amazed by that when I saw that myself. And I think it speaks to the mission statement of Prestige as an organization that above all else wants great professional wrestling for the fans. Like, it would be so easy to put this card behind a paywall. There are a lot of independent wrestling cards out there that are a lot less stacked, and I mean a lot less stacked than this one, that you have to pay $5 or $10 or more for. And again, not knocking anyone. It is a business and we need to make money. And I am in no way someone who is, in a position to make those kind of judgment calls or to cast any judgment. But for Prestige to do that, I think really, really speaks to how much they care about the fan base and how much they believe in the product. That this is not like a, snake oil salesman, nickel and diming, trying to hoodwink you into a one-time payday, and you watch it and you go, it's all right. Is that really worth the money? Like, no, they are laying all the cards out on the table, going all or nothing, and saying, this is who we are. This is what we have to offer. And we're going to give it to you for free because we know when we do it again, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year down the line, you're going to be lining up back for more. And I think that is so exciting to be a part of a place that believes in themselves and believes in what they're crafting and we're crafting. It's so cool, man. It's so unbelievably cool, certainly for fans and anyone watching at home, but even as someone broadcasting along, to know that the eyes of the world will truly be watching. I'm getting fired up just talking about it right now.
No, I can imagine. It's one of those where I'm going to say the cliche line here, but it's one of those where every match on this card could main event the card.
Yeah.
That's how stacked this is. And when we get into it, it's surely just going to be one of those where it's like any one of these, like I was trying to put it in a certain order and I'm like, this is so difficult to try. Like, there's the one or two that it's like, we can leave for the end, but everything else is just like, how do you decide? Let's talk about this. Let's talk.
There's not a dud. There's not a popcorn match or a bathroom match or anything on the card. I mean, it is 10 absolute heaters. And I'm stoked. Friday can't come soon enough, man. I don't know what else to say.
This is one of those where I usually don't say this. I'm kind of glad I'm not calling this card. I give you all the, again, well wishes, because this is one of those I don't know if I would be able to, just because of, again, how insane all 10 of these matches are going to be. Especially, there's definitely a few that are just like, I don't think I would be able to say a word. I would just want to watch. Just for the insanity.
And you can, free on YouTube, July 12th, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Cheap plug.
There you go. Got to get those plugs in, and definitely we're going to continue to do that. But before we continue, we got Bradley here.
Brad.
Do it right here. Thank you so much, Bradley. Much appreciated, brother. But
Brad's the man. Appreciate you, Brad.
We get into it here. We get into it. We'll start with this one. Again, it was hard to pick where to go with this, but I decided let's start with this singles action right here. And again, it is starting with insane action. When I decided with this one, just talk us through this right here, because you have two amazing performers going at it in this one.
Amira is the heart and soul of the Pacific Northwest, I think it's fair to say. She's someone who attended her very first professional wrestling event, late 2019, right before COVID, had never been to Wrestling Live, and it just so happened that it was a Prestige wrestling event. It was Roseland, which I was going to say is our premier event, but maybe now Combat Clash is our premier event. Too many premier events, an abundance of riches, truly. But literally saw Wrestling Live and in the flesh as a fan for the first time at a Prestige wrestling show. And now here, less than 5 years later, she is in a standout premier singles match on the biggest show Prestige has ever presented, the first time Prestige has ever come to an arena. I mean, it's real fairy tale storybook stuff, but it's not something that just happened. It's not something that the universe just gifted to her. It's something that she worked her ass off for. And as someone that has been fortunate enough in the time that I've got to know her, in the time that I've worked in Prestige, to call Amira a friend and really get close with her, I've seen that work firsthand. She is someone who never skips a day at the gym, never skips an opportunity to show, whether it's showing up to perform and wrestle or just driving to do ring crew and to help set up with the Oregon Pro Wrestling Academy. I mean, she is a hustler. You talk about that grind set, talk about getting that bread. There is no one who that is more synonymous, in my mind, with than the Tower of Power. A year and a half into her professional wrestling career, maybe less. And she has this opportunity against Kylie Ray, who has been everywhere and done everything. We saw her make her Prestige debut against Miyu Yamashita at the last Roseland event. in that very same event, Amira picking up a victory over Trish Adora. So it's one of those things of like, yeah, Amira's the rookie. She's the relative unknown if you're more of a quote unquote casual fan. But she picked up the Duke the last time we saw her in Prestige, both at Roseland and then against Rose at Alive 3. Say that 5 times fast. Roseland and then against Rose. And then you have Kylie Ray, who, again, world-traveled international superstar, but fell to Miyu Yamashita in her most recent and up till now only Prestige outing. So it's a very, very interesting dynamic. Big fan of both of these women personally and professionally, and very, very excited for this one.
No, when I saw this, I was like, okay, I definitely had to do a little bit of my research because again, I try to watch a little bit of everything, and I've definitely been familiar with the product with Prestige now. But seeing Amira and just seeing to think a year and a half is an insane it's just an insane short amount of time, but to see the growth, that is always the scariest thing. That it's like when you see that growth and you think about it's a year and a half now, to think what could happen 6 months down the line, what could happen again a year down the line, where we could see it.
Yeah, I mean,
a match like this, it does something like that, you know.
Forgive the cliche, but I would enjoy Amira while we have her at this level and at this stage, because it's only a matter of time. I mean, we're not going to have her here for very long, certainly not indefinitely. Her future is as bright as the sun, and I can't wait to a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, see her winning championships on national TV or pay-per-views. I'll never call them PLEs, but it's going to be a really, really sweet moment to say, I knew her when, and you know, before she made her Prestige debut, she was driving me from the airport, which is just absurd and ridiculous. Yeah, could not be more stoked for her, and could not be more excited to call another Kylie Ray match. I had the opportunity to travel from Los Angeles to Phoenix with her for the last West Coast loop of GCW. And she, you know, sky is blue, water is wet, grass is green. She is the sweetest person, and someone who I know is personally very, very excited for this match against Amira. Has, much like the wrestling world, taken notice of what Amira has been doing. And I know, my friend Ray, I can tell you this inside scoop: both of these women have a propensity for Uncrustables, the Smucker's peanut butter and jelly disc. So I don't know. Things are about to get nuts, if you catch my drift.
Got you right there. But as we continue here, I want to bring up this one because this is one I definitely wanted to talk about just because of the insanity, not only of the match, but of just what a match like this means. Because we have a huge 6-person all-star scramble here where you have the combination of 3 separate companies coming together now, part of this new partnership here, which is insane, as you have representatives of West Coast Pro, Deadlock Pro, and Prestige all going head-to-head here with Titus Alexander, Starboy Charlie, LeBron Cozone, BK Westbrook, Jaden, and Sonico. Just a who's who right here, all represented in this 6-person all-star scramble. Jordan, I have to ask you about that, just seeing 3 amazing companies like this come together, a part of this new partnership. How does that how does that make you feel, man?
I think it's a win-win for everyone. You know, too often in wrestling, I think people get selfish and they get scared and they say, no, I've built this and I've cultivated this fan base and I don't want anyone to leech off of it and I don't want to share. And I think it's an unfortunate mindset, but it's an understandable mindset in a dog-eat-dog world like professional wrestling, especially independent professional wrestling. So I get it. But it's so cool to see not just 2, but 3 of the premier independent wrestling promotions joining forces and bucking that kind of old school mentality and saying, we're going to put all of that aside and do what's best for the business and moreover, what's best for the fans. I talked about it earlier with the show being free to watch and free to stream live on YouTube and how it very could have easily been behind a paywall. I think this is a similar example of that. Would have been very easy for all of these companies to keep their piece of the pie and say, we're going to do our thing and we don't want you to take any of our fans and we don't want you to take any of our streams and blah, 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 blah. But instead to say, no, we're going to join forces and bring our talent and bring our resources and bring our knowledge together and in turn bring our fan bases together so we can all grow together. It is so incredibly cool to me. And it's something that, again, I am so, so grateful to be a part of. And if matches like these are what it brings, then I couldn't be more excited for the future. And I would say, in addition to that, how cool that on a show with so many dream matches and so many all-stars. Again, I know that's the name of the scramble, but across the card we have all-stars from all over the world of professional wrestling. How cool that we get kind of a local showcase with people from the Portland scene, with folks from North Carolina, with folks from Northern California, and we shine a little bit more of a spotlight on the independent wrestling side of this independent wrestling show. I think it's a win-win-win for everyone, truly.
No, it definitely is, and it's one of those where again, not to knock anyone, but I wish us a little more here in the East Coast would be willing to do something like this. Because I feel like this is one of those situations where, again, it helps the business flourish and helps everyone, again, truly win,
Yeah. And I think
it propels everything.
We live in a really cool time where we're seeing the ripple effects of this kind of stuff across the board. Just a couple weeks ago, AEW and New Japan hosted Forbidden Door, a co-branded pay-per-view. We're seeing the crossover between NXT and TNA grow and flourish on a weekly basis. And so I'm not one to say where it started or who kickstarted all of this, but I think the fact that we live in a time where all of these companies, even at the largest scale, are taking notice and are saying, hey, maybe we work together for the greater good. And maybe it's not a matter of, oh, you're going to take some of my pie, and instead we're going to bake a bigger pie together. It's a really, really cool thing to see. And again, a really, really cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely agreed right there. There we go. Going to the chat. One more sec here. Thank you, Randy, so much. Always for the support. Shout out to the team at Backstage Brawl. But no, again, talking, like we said, there's so many all-stars truly when you look at the card top to bottom. But talking about this one with that representation there, just truly 6 amazing competitors all looking to represent well. And just even represent themselves again. This is such a huge stage here. That's one of those where all 6 will be looking to showcase and prove who's the better competitor on this night.
And I think it's worth pointing out that though this is a tri-branded event, this is not a 3-team tag team match. This is every man for himself. So of course, Titus and Starboy coming from West Coast Pro, LeBron and BK coming from DPW, Jaden and Sonico coming from Prestige. Each of these competitors representing their own promotion and their own company, but ultimately this is a huge stage. And William Quintana, you dirty bastard, each of these competitors want that glory for themselves individually. So it's just as much about, I'm losing my train of thought now. Thanks, Will. I'm trying to promote the show. It's just as much about individual glory as it is, company pride and company glory, as it truly is every man for himself.
No, and that is the best thing about a match like this, that again, it creates that, it's like the friendly competition, but at the same time, you have to remember only one person can win this. It's only going to be whoever can get that pinfall or submission victory right there. But we shall see. We shall see who walks out victorious on this one. But it's going to be insane to see, again, just that unity here of 3 different companies coming together for this one matchup and what that brings for the future with this partnership.
I think I'm sorry to cut you off, Ray. I think if Prestige owner, of course, the straw that stirs the drink in Prestige, William Quintana, is going to request that I do the Batista entrance, I think he should do the right thing. He should let me and Brian Zane come out to the song by Saliva, I Walk Alone, pre-show, give us a little entrance. They give commentators entrances in, major wrestling companies. This is a big arena wrestling show. I think they should let us come out to the Saliva song, maybe even a little bit of pyro. But I'm just putting that into the universe. That's all I can do is just throw it out there and see what happens Friday.
There you go. Now we have to make it happen. Come on, Will. Just do it. The people now are going to want to see it.
You got to give the people. Yes, please. And if someone clip this, please, Will, give the people what they want. I'm begging you, man.
That's it. For Combat Clash, we need it. Oh, well,
Ray, come on, man.
Well,
Look at what you did.
Well, Will, if you need another commentator,
Whoa! See, I think this was a setup from the beginning, Ray. That's what I think.
Hey, I just wanted to promote Prestige, but hey, if the spot is needed, just hit my DMs, Will. But as we continue here from one huge multi, we're gonna go to the next, as it's going to be for these Prestige Tag Team Championships, as it will be the champions defending, Sinner and Saint defending against MXM, Midnight Heat, and C4, and just a star-studded tag team championship matchup here. And I guess now we could also say multi-branded because of congratulations to the Prestige Tag Team Champions, Sinner and Saint, who recently announced being signed with TNA. And then you have the debut recently of the tease of MXM in ROH now. So again, you have so much. And then again, a stacked team in Midnight Heat and C4 as well. A huge tag team championship matchup.
This is a really, really exciting one because you have every tag team champion in Prestige Wrestling history in this match. You have the current champions, of course, Sinner and Saint, Cheetah Sickers, and Travis Williams, who, I've maligned them a great deal because of their association with Prestige Wrestling World Champion Alan Angels to comprise the trio The Noise. They don't do things by the books. They don't do things the right way. They take shortcuts and low roads that I think, frankly, they don't need to take. But that being said, they are as crisp a tag team as you will find anywhere. The synergy they have, the synchronicity they have as a tag team is second to none, and it is consistently a pleasure to call any one of their matches. I could not be prouder to call them champions. I could maybe be prouder if they, didn't cheat and bend the rules so much, but all the same, still very proud, and very proud of them for signing with TNA. And then you have, of course, C4, the men that they dethroned, and the inaugural Prestige Wrestling Tag Team Champions. You have the Midnight Heat, who dethroned C4 in their first reign, of course, set off a brutal rivalry that has really been the seeds have really been planted since the infancy of Prestige, since Prestige's early days, pre-COVID, before it exploded as this worldwide national phenomenon. And add MXM into the mix, making their Prestige debut, arguably the hottest free agents in the world of tag team wrestling. This is a powder keg. It is easily the biggest challenge, both literally and figuratively, that Sinner and Saint have ever faced as tag team champions. And as proud as I am, like I said, to call them our tag team champions, I think there is a very real possibility that those tag team titles are either returning to Midnight Heat or C4, or that MXM does the unthinkable and walks out with the gold on their very first night in Prestige.
Again, it is a real possibility on any one of those, but it's also, again, it's one of those that, again, the multi-man aspect, it creates so many outcomes, so many possibilities that we could see on Friday. But a team like Sinner and Saint, I doubt they're walking into this on, again, a huge stage like Combat Clash, looking to lose those championships, especially after being announced as signed to TNA. I can imagine Alan Angels definitely doesn't want the Noise walking away with any less of what gold they walk in. If at least they can do anything about it. Well, and a match like this, the numbers game could come to play. We never know what could happen, I
mean, it's going to be a car crash in the best possible way. It's going to be bedlam and chaos from start to finish. You bring up a great point with Alan Angels. We'll get to it a little later on, I'm sure, but he is defending the Prestige Wrestling World Championship against Evil Uno in a very, very personal street fight. And so for him to see the Noise, to see Sinner and Saint lose tag team gold an hour or two before heading into this brutal war with Evil Uno, what does that do to his psyche? What does that do to his ego? Likewise, if they're able to retain, does that fire him up? Does that pump him up? Does that put him in the mindset that he needs? I'm not sure. Remains to be seen.
Definitely, again, it's a lot of questions, a lot of things to go into, especially when we get into that match, because, like I said, the numbers game could be a thing here. When it comes to that one, we shall see. But we continue here. Here we go. We got Coach C in the chat saying,
Coach C, my man. Much love to Coach C.
Thank you for the support here, Coach C. But then we go into one that I don't know how to describe here when it comes to it's going to be very nice and very evil as Danhausen goes head to head with I want to I hope I'm saying his name correctly, Drexel.
That's
Is that
correct. Yes, yes. It's going to be very nice. It's going to be very evil. It's going to be very weird, man. Drexel is the devil himself. He is the former king of Northwest Hardcore, king of the Death Arches, a multi-decade veteran, a deathmatch expert. The last time we saw him in a Prestige Wrestling ring, he came inches away from dethroning Alan Angels for the Prestige Wrestling World Championship. And he, as that match showed, again, available to watch in free on YouTube. The entire event, a live 3, is there to stream on Prestige's YouTube, the same place you can watch this show. Drexel is as sick and twisted and sadistic as they come, but he's also willing to get a little freaky, to get a little weird, to get a little, dare I say, silly with it. You think back to Alive 2, the previous event at the Hawthorne Theater, also available to watch the replay of on YouTube in free, in full, for free, easy for me to say. He goes head-to-head with Matt Brannigan in an equally unorthodox but very different match than the one with Alan Angels. And so, much like it's always interesting to see what side Danhausen brings to any given match, be that the very nice or very evil side, I think you can say the same about Drexel. Does he bring the more cavalier, fun-loving side we saw against Matt Brannigan, or does he bring the killer that we saw nearly dethrone Alan Angels? I know which one I would want if I was Danhausen, but only time will tell.
But then also, again, it now begs the question, what side of Danhausen will he bring? Because I know most people now are more accustomed to the very nice, very evil, but loving Danhausen. But there is a side to him that has been seen before.
Yes.
I feel like in a matchup like this with Drexel, you might see very darker sides of both. And again, like I said, I like to do my homework when it comes to this. And I've been watching a little bit of Drexel and just seeing even his promos and they've been all cinematic masterpieces of just seeing how he's talking about a matchup like this and previous matches. And I'm just like, if this is what he can do, just trying to make sure you watch it, I can only imagine the psychotic things that he will do in said match is the scary part.
Drexel is the only person I know who can talk about bleeding and getting cut up with glass and barbed wire and getting burned and getting thumbtacks lodged in his person and laugh and smile as he talks about these things. He is a fry short of a Happy Meal. He is a screw short of a light bulb. I mean, he is a strange, odd duck. And I think they often say the only way to beat a monster is to become one. Danhausen, as we said, is his own brand of unorthodox, his own brand of weird. And I, like you said, am also very, very excited to see and to call what will happen when these two very different but equally weird brands of weirdness clash. I think I've said weird a dozen times in the past 5 minutes alone, but let's get weird.
It's the perfect way to describe it here. And it's going to be one where I feel like that's going to be said a lot on Friday. Again, you can catch that on Prestige's official YouTube channel because it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. But from that, we're going to go from a weird contest to a very hard-hitting contest as we're going to talk about this one right here, as you'll have Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena going head-to-head with someone I know very well, Russian Dynamite herself, TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champion, Masha Slamovich. Again, Prestige just putting on an insane matchup right here. And again, companies colliding here. This is the best thing about independent wrestling. You never know who you can see face off in this one. And again, these two, it promises to be insane. But I know, and this has, I think, been a headache for William, has been the what ifs. Is Athena going to be ready for this Friday?
You know, there's one person who knows the answer to that question, and that's Athena. I can't and don't want to speculate on her behalf, on her well-being or lack thereof. All I know is that Prestige has promised this match. Prestige has continued to promote this match and to tell the legions of fans across social media that this match is going to go on as scheduled. And if I know anything about Prestige, it's that they are not in the business of false advertising. This is not a company of snake oil salesmen and con artists and carnies. Even though William Quintana just fired me live on this podcast, I should probably bury him right now, but I won't. Prestige is good people, and they do not promote something if they're not going to give it to you. But that being said, whatever we see, whatever version of Athena we see, whatever kind of shape she's in, you have to think, even if, we see her, it's not going to be 100%. She's not going to be at 100%. Thank you, Will, because of those injuries sustained and aggravated, as we've seen on Ring of Honor television. But no, man, I mean, I think it's an overused word. It's a cliche, as we say, but this is a dream match in every sense of the word. Two hard-hitting, badass women who have made a career, again, of bucking trends and bucking stereotypes and bucking limitations and saying, oh, I'm not supposed to do this because I'm a woman, because I'm from here, because I haven't been here or done this, yada, 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 have said that is ridiculous and I am an ass kicker just as much, if not more so, than anyone, and have frankly stomped a mud hole and walked it dry through some of the toughest women in professional wrestling. And I think it's been a real collision course. You've heard similar things about both of these women. They're impeccable strikers. They have this toughness. They have this mean streak. They have this aura. And now to see that collision course finally come to a head, especially on neutral territory, right? Masha Slamovich signed to TNA Wrestling, one half of the Impact Knockouts champion. Athena signed to AEW, Ring of Honor, the current Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. And to see it happen here at Prestige, a true, even, neutral territory, there is no more perfect place for it to happen.
No, definitely so. And it's one of those where both of these women, like you said, have broken those barriers of just being true, just two professional wrestlers. It's not just women's wrestling. It is true wrestlers that have, again, done things that it's broken those barriers and broken the stereotypes of, oh, this is what a women's wrestler is. Like, no, they've done so much more than just that. Again, Masha's one of those. We saw it even at VXS, has faced both women, men, and has kicked both asses. That it's one of those that you never know what can happen. And these two, like you said, it is a true dream match. And it's one of those that you have to see. And again, you can catch it in person or on YouTube at the official Prestige Wrestling YouTube channel, right there.
And I'll also say, Ray, of course, these women, notorious and infamous for their work in their native TNA, AEW, Ring of Honor, but neither of these competitors are strangers to Prestige Wrestling. Of course, we've seen Masha Slamovich. She made her debut back at Roseland 3 against Miyu Yamashita. Excuse me, my brain's failing me there, but against Miyu Yamashita back at Roseland 3 in Portland, Oregon. We've seen her back in Portland. We've seen her as part of our East Coast events in Worcester, Massachusetts, and Asbury Park, New Jersey. And I know in speaking to her, another person that, as scary as she may seem, I have been very, very fortunate to grow close with and call a friend. She's communicated to me how important Prestige is. I remember her saying to me at one point, like, I always check with any date. I always make sure I get GCW, Prestige, West Coast Pro. There were a handful of promotions that she gave to me, but she said, I make sure that I have my dates from these promotions and I check with them and I check with these promoters and I say, this is something I need to know. And this is something I want to prioritize. And there's a reason for that. She doesn't need to do that. She's internationally traveled. She's had excursions to Japan. She's won gold in TNA multiple times over. And she does that because she, much like me, much like we, believe in the vision of Prestige Wrestling and is a real hometown favorite. If you can call Portland a home away from home, something that I know her and partner Akira do very, very much so. And same with Athena. Prestige, one of the first places that she pop back onto the scene at. Before her time in AEW, we saw her make a shocking intervention in Taya Valkyrie's match with Drexel back at Roseland 2. We saw her face Taya in a moment that went viral at Make Your Own History. And most recently saw her put the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship on the line against the Pink Striker Miyu Yamashita last year at Vendetta in another sort of viral moment where Miyu came so close yet so far from dethroning Athena. And that in itself is crazy, that was well over a year ago. She was already several months into a Ring of Honor Women's World Championship reign at that point, and she's going strong still to this day. I mean, talk about dominance. It's unheard of.
No, definitely so. And again, that is why you can't miss shows like this, because you never know those moments that could just happen like that. Which includes, again, this next matchup that we went from one hard-hitting to another one that definitely promises to be hard-hitting, very technical, and just another dream match affair, as it's going to be the Messiah of the Backbreaker himself, Roderick Strong, going head-to-head with someone that, again, when you talk about people that respect the craft, this guy encompasses that in Timothy Thatcher right here. Just, again, this is one that is going to be hold for hold, strike for strike. You're going to feel it. If you're in that building this Friday night, you are going to feel those chops, those strikes that I'm going to be watching it again from the official Prestige YouTube channel. And I'm holding my chest because I can feel those chops already. And the match hadn't started.
Yeah, this is going to be physical. I think you hit the nail on the head, my friend. Timothy Thatcher and Roderick Strong, known for being two of the most brutal and unrelenting athletes that modern professional wrestling has ever seen, in their own very unique, distinct ways. This is not a first-time ever matchup. We've seen these two lock horns nearly a decade ago in PWG, but so much has happened since then. You think about both men spending time in NXT and then venturing outwards, in Roderick Strong's case to AEW, and Timothy Thatcher's case to Pro Wrestling Noah, both making Prestige a destination. We've seen Thatcher against Robert Martyr as part of our WrestleMania week festivities. Roderick Strong chose Prestige Wrestling as his landing mark back in independent wrestling. There were a lot of places he could have done that, right? He's the Messiah of the Backbreaker. He is an independent wrestling legend. I can promise you there were no shortage of people knocking at his door saying, please let us be the first. Give us that first match. And he gave it to Prestige for a reason against Kevin Blackwood almost a year ago. Actually, over a year ago at this point, which is insane to think about. Time flies when you're having fun. But very, very excited to have Roderick Strong back. Excited to see what this version of Roderick Strong is like as a member of the Undisputed Kingdom, recently losing the International Championship. And excited to see what that means as he locks horns with an old foe once again.
No, again, like you said, it is the perfect way of just this isn't a first time ever, but it might as well be, just because this is two totally different competitors now. Like you said, the time apart, the just different roads that they've traveled, and just different experiences. And like you said, this is now that Messiah, the Backbreaker, that has been now part of the Undisputed Kingdom. What can that mean? What does that bring now? What mentality, what hunger does that bring? Of now it's a whole different ballgame for Roderick Strong. But also, again, for Timothy Thatcher, that's one of those where, especially going to Noah, I feel like that love for the craft and just true just tenacity has gotten even bigger for Thatcher. This is one, like I said, is going to be hard-hitting, going to be truly hold for hold. A match, just it's going to be one that I feel like everyone is going to be watching.
Yes, and you should be watching. Free on YouTube, July 12th. It's free, man. You got no excuse. It's freaking free, man.
There you go. But as we continue here, this one is another insane matchup here, as it will be the illest himself, Mike Santana, going head to head with the gold standard himself, Shelton Benjamin. And this matchup had a switch. It had a switch with originally it being scheduled your new NXT champion Ethan Page, originally being scheduled here to face Shelton Benjamin, and the match just got iller when the replacement announced would be none other than Mike Santana. And an insane pairing right here, though.
Yeah, A lot can happen in a month. All love to Ethan Page. Again, a consummate professional, and someone that I know everyone here at Prestige is very, very happy for. But that in and of itself really tells the whole story, right? This is the caliber of athlete we're talking about. These men are announced for this show, and within a month, that's what it's been. Within that match being announced, Ethan Page appearing in NXT, getting signed, and then winning the NXT championship. It happened within the span of a month. Again, that is unprecedented. That is unheard of. And that is the caliber of competitor that we're talking about for this show. So that in and of itself should tell you everything you need to know. It should tell you why you need to tune in. But where there is absence, there is opportunity. And like you said, Mike Santana filling in that opportunity. This is a very, very interesting one for me for a number of reasons, specifically because these men have had very different careers, but I think are at a very similar point in their career. They're both fresh off of a highly publicized, successful run as a part of, nationally televised, mainstream corporate professional wrestling. And I think it's fair to say that despite all they achieved there, and despite their talents that anyone with half a brain is painfully aware of, they maybe didn't get all the juice out of that fruit. They maybe didn't do everything that they felt they were capable of, that the larger wrestling world felt they were capable of. Of course, Mike Santana, one half of Proud and Powerful, EYFBO, LAX, call them what you will, with former tag team partner Ortiz, Shelton Benjamin, a part of the Hurt Business for a very, very long time. They certainly achieved success, but I think they and the wrestling world felt like there was more to do. And so for them, it was a matter of, do I stay where I am? And do I accept this complacency, or do I decide, no, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to go off and I'm going to show the world that it's not all talk. It's not all speculation. I really was and am worthy of that spot and those opportunities and that glory. And I think as talented and naturally gifted as both of these men are, there's nothing more exciting than when a talented and naturally gifted competitor has that fire lit under them. And I think they both do, and are both, as a result, determined to win on a stage as big as this. I'm really, really excited for this one. I would have been anyway, given how much a fan of both of these men I am personally, but especially given where they are and that hunger they have as a result of where they are. It's going to be a good one.
It's and that's the scary part about it, is that, again, on any day, both of these competitors, great. It is a awesome pairing, but then you add that hunger that both of them have, and it's going to be one that it is truly, it's a barn burner of a match. It is one where it's can't miss. It's one of those where these two are going to prove why they feel like it's the undervalue of what they could have been,
Yeah.
So much left on the table, so much that they're looking to show. And a matchup like this is going to showcase that on so many levels. Again, Mike Santana, Shelton Benjamin, it can't miss.
And again, just from a personal standpoint for me, I started watching wrestling, like I said, in 2009. Shelton Benjamin, Intercontinental Champion, U.S. Champion, top of his game in SmackDown and WWE ECW. So to me, I mean, he is someone who is pretty synonymous with my childhood. And then likewise, Mike Santana alongside partner Ortiz. As a part of EYFBO, I was front and center, as close can get, pounding away at the ringside for a grand majority of their run in Beyond Wrestling, which I know propelled them to Impact, now TNA, propelled them to AEW, and now has propelled Mike Santana to the single success he's experiencing now. So as someone who was a really, really big fan of both of these men in my youth, and in my infancy, just as a wrestling fan, it's a really, really cool full circle moment to now be calling this match against each other. A match that, I don't know, if you had told me in 2017 that, Mike Santana of EYFBO would be wrestling Shelton Benjamin, I would have called you nuts. And if you had told me in 2009 that Shelton Benjamin would have been wrestling Mike Santana, I would have said, who's Mike Santana? I'm 8 years old, and I don't even know if he started wrestling yet. But it's really, really cool to see, man. I'm very, very excited to be a small part of that.
No, definitely so, man. And again, to see, like you said, that growth of Mike Santana, seeing from the days of being the nasty assassin in EYFBO, from just that growth to seeing where he's doing now. And again, so much more to come
growth,
like this.
growth, both figuratively as far as like stepping his game up and like getting that much wiser, but also physically. I mean, the dude's huge. I call this match against Alec Price this past December for the GCW Holiday Special, and that is a big boy, man. Same with Shelton though; he's gigantic.
No, definitely. That's gonna be one that you're just gonna see two totally different competitors. Like we said earlier with Roddy and Timothy Thatcher, it's two different competitors now that you've ever seen. So definitely look forward to that. Here we go. We got VXS in the chat saying shout out to Prestige for knowing what quality wrestling is all about. Definitely.
Much love to VXS. As I said, the first person to give me an opportunity in the world of pro wrestling. I know they've done similar stuff for you, and so always love for Isaac, always love for VXS. Very excited for what they have coming up with Arrival in a couple months.
Yeah, definitely so. But from that matchup, we go to this one that again is a dream match that has happened before, but to see on this stage and so many years later is insane. It is going to be the Machine Guns Collide, as it will be Alex Shelley going head to head with Chris Sabin. And this matchup right here, when I saw it announced, knowing that in a few weeks' time, when this was announced, I would be sitting down with one of these two men and getting to hear that conversation, letting him know, giving him his flowers, if you will, but just hearing just what they feel has been that influence and what has influenced them. But to know that a match like this is just full circle for them. And with everything being talked about right now, this is truly going to be a talked about match just because of the wrestling world is talking about the Motor City Machine Guns at this point,
Yeah, I am not a pundit. I am not a dirt sheet writer. I'm not a journalist, and I'm certainly not a soothsayer. I got no omnipotence to offer you. So I can't say what is next for the Motor City Machine Guns. I cannot say where they are going or what their future holds, and I'm not going to try. But what I can tell you is that the Motor City Machine Guns are in the conversation for the greatest tag team of all time. I'm not going to give qualifiers of, greatest tag team in the Indies, greatest tag team of the 21st century, greatest tag team to never do this, blah, 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 blah. They, to me, are in the conversation with anyone, from the Legion of Doom to the Hardy Boys. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. If you think that the Motor City Machine Guns are not at least in that conversation, then you are fooling yourself, because they are, for both their career and the accolades that they've achieved and the matches they've had and the consistency they've had over a period of almost 2 decades, but also what they've given to professional wrestling and a style and a type of tag team wrestling that they have pioneered. It is a contribution that I don't think we'll ever fully appreciate, and I don't think we'll ever fully understand, at least until they're gone. And that's something that I have really, really tried to take stock of. In my time calling their matches, I've been so lucky to do it a few times now for Prestige. I've had a few moments, many of them with Prestige Wrestling, where afterwards I've said, there's so much I want to do in wrestling, and I have dreams and I have goals, and I want to be doing this for as long as this old engine will bring me. But if it all ends after tonight, then I think I'm okay with that. And I think I can look back and say I did what I did tonight, and I can be happy and I can be proud of myself, and I can know that my 10-year-old self would be proud of me. And one of those moments was calling my first Motor City Machine Guns match back in New Year's Eve in the White Eagle in Worcester, Massachusetts. Again, as a person who grew up with Beyond Wrestling, that's a venue that means a great deal to me. That was a very, very special night. I'm actually looking at a picture of it on my wall right now. But it's something that means a great deal to me. And I got to be honest, I didn't know if there was any topping that in terms of the Motor City Machine Guns. That was a pretty, pretty special night. But now to be here in this moment where so much is uncertain and there are so many more questions than answers. One thing I know for sure, one thing I can tell you for certain, is that this Friday Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are going to go 1-1. The greatest tag team of all time will not be competing in a tag team match. They're going to be going head-to-head, toe-to-toe in a singles match. And it's not the first time, but it may very well be the last time. And if it is, man, what a tremendous honor to be on the call for that. And to just, like you said, man, watch that as a fan. I'm smiling and honestly kind of like getting a little emotional here talking about it. Even if it's not the last time, even if we're fortunate enough to see this again, at this point where so much is uncertain and there's so much yet to see and yet to know and yet to discover about where these men are going and what their future holds. This is a turning point, and whatever the next chapter looks like, I can tell you for certain that this is the closing of a chapter. And I know that, pun intended, the Guns are going to go out with a bang.
Oh, definitely so. And that is that interview when I had with Alex Shelley was one of those that I was like, you know what? If this is the last episode I do, I think I did all right. Like, they have been such a pivotal role in so many of us, just inspiration, just influence, and just seeing what they've done and continue to do. And again, they do it at such a level that it's insane to see them get better and just age like fine wine when it comes to this business.
And you know, Shelley especially, he's someone who has been with Prestige Wrestling since the pandemic, again, since that sort of national worldwide exposure, that sort of explosion of popularity they've had in a post-COVID world. He's someone who's been there. He won the Prestige Wrestling World Championship on their first night back in operation at Roseland 2. And since then, I don't even think it would take me one hand to count the amount of Prestige Wrestling shows I've worked with that Alex Shelley. That is how, despite his commitments to TNA, despite his commitments across the independent wrestling landscape, that is how consistently he has been there and how much of a priority he has made Prestige Wrestling. The term locker room leader gets thrown around a lot, but it has never been more apropos than with Alex Shelley. He is a true locker room leader in every sense of the word. He's someone who selflessly, I've seen him do it time and time again. He's done it with me, has found the time for people, not just for himself or for his match, but for the show as a whole, to have those conversations and give those little tweaks and give those pieces of input, those pearls of knowledge, again, totally selflessly, not in any way in service of himself, just to make the show better and to make all of us better. And some stuff he said to me has really, really stuck with me and means more to me than he'll probably ever know. And likewise, Sabin is just the nicest guy. I've worked with him less than Shelley, but he has been a consummate professional and a truly wonderful person. I think back to, it was him and Speedball Mike Bailey from Hybrid Moments in Asbury Park, New Jersey, which is a hidden gem, a true show stealer, showstopper. They competed in Impact Wrestling a few months later, but this match from Prestige on a card with, you know, Alex Shelley and Alan Angels and Minoru Suzuki, they tore it up, totally stole the show. After that event, I went up to him and I showed him a picture of us from a TNA house show way back in the day. And I said, you know, I want to thank you. It's so cool to be working with you after all this time. And he goes, oh, well, we got to recreate the picture. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, come over. You got to duck down. And you were making this pose. I'm like, hey, Kelly, can you take it? And he like ushers Killer Kelly over to take the picture. Totally of his own accord. I had no intention on taking a picture with him. Certainly not on recreating it or asking him to do that or being a mark like that. But he insisted on it and was just like so gracious, so kind. Ever since then, as always, you know, greeted me with a smile, remembered me by name. And as someone who, like we said, is a legend and is a trailblazer and totally does not have to do that, that has meant the world. So nothing but love for these guys. If this is the end of a chapter in the way that a lot of people are speculating, I think we're really, really going to miss them. I say we, I mean the entire Prestige locker room are really, really going to miss them as those tent poles and those pillars and those presences in our locker room. But I can say that there is no better way to say goodbye or to say see you real soon, I should say. There is no better swan song
Yeah.
than this match against each other this Friday.
No, definitely. Again, if it is, and again, you never know what could happen next. To steal a quote from my Theo's the SAT, expect the unexpected, man. Expect
Yes,
the
sir.
unexpected.
Yes,
But
sir.
as I mentioned, the SAT, we have to go to this insane dream match right here, as it will be the underground king himself, the amazing Red, going head to head with the Black Heart, Lio Rush. And this has been another one that, since it was announced, has been the talk of the town, has been just, it took the wrestling world by storm, because when seeing what the Black Heart has become and seeing what Lio Rush has reinvented and redone with it, this character, if you can call it that, because I don't even know if it's a character anymore. I feel like Lio Rush and the Blackheart are now one and the same. You called what that match between him and Jaden, and just seeing what Lio Rush would stoop to, what the Blackheart would cause him to do.
Yeah,
And the
it's another one where it's difficult to talk about because as broadcasters, like we said, our job is to articulate what's going on for the audience and to hold their hand along for the ride and say, this is what you're seeing. This is why you're seeing it. This is who these people are. I struggle in doing that with the Blackheart Lio Rush because I'm not sure what the hell is going on. I'm not sure what the hell he is. If it is a he, what it is, it astounds me. And I've called a couple of his matches now, and it's not getting any clearer. It's not getting any easier. We talk about ingenuity in blazing a trail with the Motor City Machine Guns. I think Amazing Red traveled a lot of those same roads, or I should say paved a lot of those same roads alongside the Motor City Machine Guns as far as innovating a style and moreover showing that a certain type of wrestling had a place in the zeitgeist before a lot of people ever saw that vision. And he's someone who, because of that trailblazing, I think a lot of the wrestling world has to thank, and I'm not sure if he'll ever get that recognition or those flowers truly, fully, as much as he deserves until it's too late. But someone who I know did take notice and did take inspiration and has his entire career from the Amazing Red is Lio Rush. I talked to Lio outside of this sort of Blackheart haze as part of an Instagram live he did a couple weeks ago. And he was telling me that when he started watching wrestling, he watched everything, anything he could get his hands on, TV, the internet, it didn't matter. And the one guy that captured his mind, that captured his heart, forgive the pun, was the Amazing Red. The things he was able to do, the speed and consistency at which he was able to do them, it inspired Lio, and I think in many ways showed him the path as a smaller guy, as a more agile guy. But that's a great story, and that's real fairy tale storybook stuff, and that would be all well and good, but it's not the same kid who watched Amazing Red on Ring of Honor tapes or TNA pay-per-views wrestling him this Friday. It's this creature, it's this monster, it's this entity. And so I am fascinated to see how those two sides of Lio Rush coexist, because there's the traditional Lio, the one we've seen win the Cruiserweight Championship and the X Division Championship, right? The man of the hour, the bad child, who has all this respect and reverence and is, I'm sure, he told me himself, honored and thrilled to be sharing this ring with Amazing Red. And then there's the Blackheart, who just, talking about Amazing Red, he just sees red, right? He doesn't see an innovator. He doesn't see an inspiration. He doesn't see a hero. He sees a piece of meat. He sees 200 pounds of flesh to tear apart. And much like Danhausen and Drexel that we discussed earlier, I'm very, very fascinated and, frankly, for Amazing Red, a little scared to see which side of Lio Rush takes over.
Definitely so. And again, this is one where with Red, he is truly that. He is an innovator. He is an inspiration. He's the underground king for a reason. That he's one that, will he get his flowers ever just due? Not sure. But it's one of those where a match like this, it's truly going to be that poetry in motion. But like we said, what side of Leo will we see? What side of the Blackheart? What is going to be the Blackheart that faces the Underground King, that faces the Innovator? But also, what side of Amazing Red? Because Red has faced some of the craziest competitors out there. We've seen that one of the most famous moments is the Matrix Minute of a Savage low key wanting to take Red's head off. So we know he can handle those situations, but what will happen this Friday night is a reason why you have to be there, because this is a match I know both are looking forward to, both are getting ready for, and this is one that every single person that's watching this has to be ready for, because it's going to be insane.
Yeah, only time will tell, and I think that's going to be the story of the match, right? If you're Amazing Red, you want to use that quickness. You want to turn this into a high-flying spectacle. You want to be that daredevil that we all know, and you know, you're not going to be able to outpower or outsmart the Blackheart, but maybe, just maybe, you can outspeed him. You can outquick him. You can out-high-fly him, and I think that's Amazing Red's only shot in hell against this demonic entity that is the Blackheart Leo Rush. Because again, as you said, he's seen a lot, but he's never seen anything like the Blackheart Leo Rush, because there is nothing quite like the Blackheart Leo Rush.
And that is the tricky part, because it's one of those where you would think Amazing Red, again, the veteran in this, someone that has seen it all, has been through a lot, and has done so many things in this business, innovated so many things in this, influenced so many in this business. But again, something like the Blackheart is unseen, untalked about. We don't know even how to describe it here. You know, that it's one of those where it's going to be something to see what Amazing Red can do to counteract that, or even what Leo will bring out when it comes to Friday. So again, you're going to want to be there. You're going to want to watch it once again live on the official Prestige Wrestling YouTube channel right there for free. Might we add once more?
For free. You ever seen Bedtime Stories with Adam Sandler? That's a classic. I just watched it on a boat a few days ago. It was great.
Oh man. But from that, we go to, unfortunately, a little bit of a sad story here. Former friends, now foes, as it will be for that Prestige Heavyweight Championship here, as it will be defending champion, not the most liked, Alan Angels, defending against Evil Uno in a street fight. But there's some more stipulations here, if I'm not mistaken, with the involvement of the Sinner and Saint, correct?
Yes, it is a street fight for the Prestige Wrestling World Championship. Evil Uno and Alan Angels, no shortage of history, as you alluded to. Sinner and Saint banned from ringside. To set the scene, of course, Evil Uno and Alan Angels, members of the Dark Order in AEW for several years. Evil Uno bringing Alan Angels into the Dark Order, effectively bringing him into AEW, bringing him into that national spotlight. And Alan Angels, after a while, growing scornful, feeling disrespected. Of course, we remember on Being the Elite, it even translated to AEW TV, the Dark Order kind of bullying and talking down to Alan Angels, saying, "Fuck you, Alan," leaving him behind. And what maybe to them and the audience was thought of as harmless, playful jokes, Alan Angels really, really took personally. And I think, as we've seen and heard in recent months, was a big reason of why he distanced himself from the group and why he left AEW altogether. And since then, you compare that Alan Angels from 2021, 2022, this is a different man entirely. And Prestige Wrestling has been the place that he has become that man, that he is, I struggle to even say metamorphosized, right? Because that implies from, you know, caterpillar to butterfly, from something plain and normal to something beautiful. He's turned into something. I'm not sure if it's beautiful, but it's something, and it's been a successful something. Defeating some of the best that the Prestige Wrestling roster has to offer, eventually getting himself a Prestige Wrestling World Championship match, finally a one-on-one match with Alex Shelley, no frills, no extra stipulations, no BS, one-on-one, one final time, and against all odds, winning that World Championship. It's something that I never thought I'd see, not because Alan Angels isn't talented. In fact, he's an incredibly talented wrestler. I always knew he had the technical ability. I always knew he had the professional wrestling acumen, but it was something I didn't want to believe was possible because of what a rotten human being he is, because of how much he's disrespected this place and this company that I love so much. And because of how much I knew, frankly, that championship would boost his ego. But he did it. He did what he set out to do. He proved all the haters and doubters, I guess myself included, wrong, and became the Prestige Wrestling World Champion. His first challenge, one of his first challenges, his first announced challenge, was against Evil Uno at Alive or Just Breathing, our last event in Los Angeles, California. And you can watch the tape back. It's available on IWTV. Uno had the match won. He kicked out of signature offense from Alan Angels, the same moves that he won countless matches that he won the championship with in Prestige Wrestling. Evil Uno kicked out at one. He was not going quietly. And what does Angels do? Puts his hands on the official. He gets himself disqualified. He takes the cheap, easy way out because he knew, like we knew, like most importantly, Evil Uno knew that he couldn't beat Evil Uno. Which takes us to Alive 3, Alan Angels, with the assistance of Sinner and Saint, able to defeat the devil himself, Drexel, retain the Prestige Wrestling World Championship in a Devil's Playground death match. And one of Drexel's druids, one of his shadowy figures, minions, as it were, makes his way to ringside, acting as a sort of a shield to Drexel, a kamikaze mission, as it were. Who's under the hood? None other than Evil Uno himself, shocking the world, surprise appearance in Portland, Oregon, laying down the challenge, telling Alan Angels that if he has the balls, Sinner and Saint banned from ringside, street fight, no way to get yourself disqualified, no way to weasel out. If he wants to beat Evil Uno, he has to pin him with that Halo strike. He has to tap him out. That's it. Those are the options. Again, I don't like Alan Angels. I think he's a really terrible person, and he's not someone that I like to call our Prestige Wrestling World Champion. But this is a big test for him. I say this not as a personal critic, but as a professional broadcaster. This is put up or shut up time, right? There's no way to grab the tights. There's no way to put the referee down. There's no way to use a hidden foreign object. They are at an even playing field. This is Alan Angels' time to prove that he is not a paper champion. He didn't weasel his way into this with cheap tricks or the assistance of his goons. He is a champion that, as much as Prestige Wrestling may not like, Prestige Wrestling deserves, which is a weird thing, to not like your champion, but to still think that he is deserving and to still deserve him. And whether or not Angels cares about that, I'm not sure. But this is his opportunity to prove it. To put this issue with Evil Uno that has been going on here in Prestige Wrestling for months, that has been going on in their lives for years, to bed. And in doing so, in the biggest match, in the biggest event in Prestige Wrestling history, prove that he is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the world champion. It's now or never.
I was going to say, this is one of those where it really is not even just about the championship anymore, but just a full redemption for Alan Angels when it comes from that Alan Angels of 2021 to what we see here today and what we see this Friday, that it's fully the ending of a story, if you will.
Yeah.
And I know that cliche has been taken a lot in the wrestling world, but
yeah, Viva Van and Man Like Therese. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Congratulations on the engagement. But it's one of those where this is so much going on, so much emotions. And it's one of those, what headspace are both walking in this Friday? Because like we said, so much could happen earlier in the night. So much could happen leading to this Friday. And so much when it comes to who will be able to make the other stay down for a 3 count or be forced to submit.
This is really, really personal for both of these men. Of course, I talked about Alan Angels and how he felt disrespected and demeaned and belittled by the Dark Order, a group that was effectively led by Evil Uno. But the same's true for Evil Uno. You know, he had the Prestige Wrestling World Championship, a truly, again, forgive the pun, prestigious championship, stolen from him. He had it won. He kicked out of game-ending offense. He He was there, center of the ring, ready to take it, ready to win it, ready to become champion. Someone who was always a tag team wrestler, always a part of a faction, was ready to win singles world championship gold. That is a game changer for anyone's career. I don't care where you've been, what you've done, who you've beaten. Winning the Prestige Wrestling World Championship is a game changer. And Evil Uno had that stolen from him. And likewise, I don't think Evil Uno takes so kindly to being disrespected by Angels, right? Having Angels say, oh, you belittled me, you did this, you thought less of me. These are some really serious accusations that Alan Angels is throwing around to a group in Evil Uno that we know is always looking to recruit. Evil Uno doesn't want that stain on the Dark Order's legacy, that you have people going around defaming them, denouncing them, saying this is what they did to me. It's not just about Evil Uno and his championship goals. It's also about Dark Order pride, about the legacy that the Dark Order represents, the flags that they fly. This is a really, really personal issue and a really, really personal matchup for both of these men. And as strange and backwards as it may sound, I think it's all down to who's able to channel that animosity towards focus, who's able to maybe put some of that personal hatred and that personal vendetta on the back burner and say, I'm going to let this fuel me, but I'm not going to let it guide me, right? It's going to give me that extra oomph. It's going to fire me up where I need it. But it's not going to be the only thing I see. I still got to keep my composure. I still got to keep a head on my shoulders. I can't see red. I can't have the blinders. I can't have the tunnel vision. I need to be focused on the task at hand, and that is winning this matchup, that is putting my opponent down for the 3 or making them tap out, that is becoming Prestige Wrestling World Championship. And I think whoever is able to do that, whoever is able to channel that personal animosity, to use it instead of it using them, they have the match won before the bell even rings.
I think, unfortunately, it is a situation of easier said than done, just because that could be something that does blind them and does, unfortunately, cost them a match like this. And that is what could be in play this Friday night. And it's one of those where you have to see what could actually happen. What will be the result? What will be what guides these two? And we shall see when it comes to that Prestige World Championship match at Combat Clash here. But again, this has been truly a stacked card that we've talked about here, top to bottom. It is, again, being streamed for free.
For free! Had to get in there one more time.
No, you had to. It's a card filled with dream matches, insane matches right there, all brought to you by Prestige Wrestling right here. Again, if you guys haven't been sold on it yet, I don't know what will. If you call yourself truly a professional wrestling fan, this is the card for you, and it's all going down this Friday night. But just to make sure you stay up to date with all things that is happening, make sure you are following Prestige Wrestling on all their social media right there. So that way you never miss an update. And also, when it comes to this event, you don't know what could be announced next or what could be happening. You never know. But Jordan, before I let you go, because it's definitely, I want to make sure you get ready for this insane event, I have one final question for you, brother. And that is, what is the end goal, man?
For me or for Prestige Wrestling? I know we've talked a lot about Prestige. For you personally. For me personally, man, I have been really, really fortunate to do some really, really cool stuff in the world of wrestling in a relatively short period of time. I know people who've been doing this for a lot longer than I have, who have not done a lot of the stuff that I have. And that is not me, patting myself on the back and blowing smoke up my ass and saying, I'm the man. I'm so great. I'm so cool. Like, that is me saying I am so lucky things that I've done and continue to do. And like we said earlier, I've had more moments than I can even hope to articulate in one podcast where I've said, if this is it, if this is the end of the line, then I'm good. Then I can say that I've done something to be really, really proud of. And so there's a certain level of peace that comes with that, to know that I've done that. But at the same time, it doesn't mean I'm any less hungry. It doesn't mean that I'm any less excited and ready for the future. And again, excited for the future more than anything, because you never know what it brings. I've always said, for me, I want to make wrestling my full-time living. They say you love what you do for work and you'll never work a day in your life. And so it's not about, I want to get rich and I want to make millions off of this. It's just about getting to a place where I can do this and only this and focus all of my energy towards this, whatever that means. As long as I can pay my bills, buy myself groceries, pay my rent, pay off my car, pay off my student loans with professional wrestling. As far as I'm concerned, that's a job well done. Where that is specifically, what exactly that looks like, I don't know. But if I can get to a point, when I get to a point, we're going to manifest. When I get to a point where I can pay my way with this business, with the craft, as it were, I'll be a happy camper. I can't really ask for much more than that.
Oh, that is awesome right there. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure you're following Jordan on all of his social media right there. Jordan W_S on Instagram, at Jordan W_S on X. And make sure again
You
stay
call
up to
it
date.
X-ray? Come on, man. It's Twitter. It's Twitter, man.
See, I used to say, because I would still have it say Twitter, but I would say whatever you want to call it, at Twitter, at X, whatever. It's an app. But no, whichever it is, whatever you feel comfortable saying, make sure you're following them there so you stay up to date. And again, see the amazing journey and opportunities that are coming. And like I said, to someone, we're gonna manifest this. Eventually, you and I will be calling a card, and it is going to be a great narration for a wrestling card right there.
Yes, sir. I can't wait for the day. I'll be looking forward to it.
Definitely so. And brother, thank you again so much for joining me. To everyone watching, thank you again. And as always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people. Respect the craft. We'll see you guys on the next one.